We're here. Awesome.
Yeah, and then you can extend it backwards according to that clap.
Right. Okay.
You never want to do it at the end of the video. Definitely at the beginning, though.
Right. Got to go all the way to the end and then line it up and then come back. Yeah, that'd be something. Well, dude, here we are. This is exciting. This is a moment that's kind of cultivated over a long period of time. Definitely. It feels good. It feels good to be here. Tanner, thank you for being back there. Yeah, sexy bastard.
Yeah, I will say, like, I know a lot of people give you shit about this, and I mean, maybe not give you shit, but they're just like, why the fuck are you starting a podcast? Like, you have nothing to do. And I'm like, bro, why be talking to people, like, more confidently than I can talk to people? So, like, I definitely believe in your power. And
well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, that's why I wanted to do this first episode with you and, like, have this conversation because, like we talked about before, like, going live is, you know, you're one of those people that also understands what it's like to, like, have a vision for something and, like, a goal and passion and is, like, willing to sacrifice for it. Like, when you moved to California, you know, I think that was like one of those moments where I recognized, like, you were willing to, like, give it your all on, like, what you want. And there's a few people that are, like, really willing to do that because a lot of people, like myself included, have had so many ideas and never, like, really acted on them and, like, taken the steps and, like, sacrifices to make it a reality. And that's, like, a hard thing for a lot of people to do. So, like, immediately I garnered so much more respect for you, not, like, just as a friend, but also just as a person. When I realized, like, that's the kind of energy you're on. And that's why I was like, well, this is the culmination of my vision, my goal, and my dream. So, like, who better to have the flagship episode with than you?
Fuck yeah. I appreciate that. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I mean, I've been inspired by people, and I think that synergy just needs to keep going around everywhere.
100%.
If people can find their passions and, you know, take it to a different length, it's better than working. It's a reason to live, I'd say, for sure.
100%. And it's like, I mean, it's kind of crazy how in today's age, like, everybody is kind of aware of that energy of, like, oh, like, I don't want to do the 9-to-5 shit. Like, everybody's trying to create their own thing. But I think there's also still so many roadblocks in people's minds of, like judgment, you know, like you said, people that have an opinion about what you're trying to do. But, like, one thing that helped me so much and, like, what led me to being here today versus all my other ideas I've had in the past was finally realizing, like, I can't expect everybody to see my vision. Like, your vision, Tanner, your vision, my vision, like, they're all unique. And there's a layer that you see in your own head that nobody else can.
Yeah.
And having, like, enough confidence in that to speak it out into the world, own it, and then act on it.
Exactly.
And then as you build it and it comes to fruition, then others will start to see it and understand it. But, like, in the beginning, there's going to be so much opposition to it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, I mean, if you think about it in today's world, it's like, I mean, just being alive in general, like, everything is against you, bro. Everybody, you're going against everybody. Yeah. And everybody has a dream. People have the same vision as you. But it's like, who has the balls to fucking start first and actually do it?
And go for it.
Like, I don't know, like, starting. People don't want to start. That's the biggest thing. They don't want to look at their lowest. They don't want to be seen
literally
starting. It's like, why? That's where you learn everything.
Well, that was, like, again, I can relate to that so much, like, across my journey of, like, having ideas and, like, you know, whether that was streaming when I was younger or, you know, doing things with cars. I guess it was, like, the fear of being bad at it, you know? Why'd you cut out? Come back. The fear, like, either way, I think it was, like, for me, so many times I, like, stopped myself from really progressing on an idea just because I was afraid to tackle level 1 when, like, my idea that I'd culminate, like, I was thinking of it, like, level 10. Shit, like, I don't have the equipment to, like, make it a level 10 idea. I don't have the, like, funding to do it at, like, that level 10, you know, degree. But, you know, wasn't willing to, like, just shovel the shit and go through level 1 and tackle it and master it, and then level 2, level 3, and, like, the stepping stones that it truly takes to get to level 10. You know, it just starts with going at level 1, and then once you master that, you can move up. And you know, that's here. Like, this isn't the end all be all scenario.
What would you say? How would you categorize your different levels, like for acceleration and anything?
Well, I think
at what point are you like, okay, I killed level 1. I'm ready to move to level 2. Now I killed level 2. Ready to move to 3.
I think if you look at it purely, like my frame of mind from like a business standpoint that I've come to realize is, like, level 1 would be, okay, how can I start the idea for the least amount of money involved, and get it going and get the ball rolling, like where we are now. Like, you know, okay, I don't have the money for a studio. I can't like go balls out like that and make it super polished. But level 1 would be being able to like make content, get like my foot in the door, and then once I make enough content, that then cash flow starts to come in. I'd say starting to generate cash flow off the idea would be level 1, and then once you have cash flow, you can expand to level 2. You can start to grow that idea, and then really start to polish it and like fine tune it. You know, for me, level 2 with like the idea of hosting this podcast would be like moving into my own studio. You know, upgrading equipment, being able to have like 3 camera angles and shit like that. That would be like at level 2. But I don't need 3 camera angles. I don't need a studio to tackle level 1. Yeah. I guess that was like the biggest like paradigm shift for me, was realizing like I can get started right now. Like even today, it was like, oh man, like I could do a few more things to the room, like dial it in. And I was like, no, like fuck it. Like I'm not going to realize that the camera that I bought for this isn't going to work, because my phone ends up being way better for it. You know, like I didn't realize that until I just actually like started doing it. I was like, all right, let's just film the first episode and see what pops up. So yeah, I guess just like that process.
Yeah. I mean, failing intelligently. Like, yeah, this whole first video could be a complete bust, but at the same time, like, we're literally doing it. And I know it's not going to be a bust. I mean, come on, it's already popping off, but yeah, I think from college, like, especially as a filmmaker, there's such a pre-production process to making something happen, and you just have to think about every single idea. And it's like, honestly, and Tanner was with me the other day. Like, I was just like, why do I have to storyboard? Why do I have to do all these things if I could just film and just go for it, just like fucking just film it first try with the thoughts from my head. And like doing that helped me fail so fast. It's like I already know how to make it, and I didn't even have to go through all those processes to do that. Just like failing faster definitely helped me realize how to make a full commercial.
That's a good point. Failing faster, like in so many aspects of life, you got to be willing to hear no, or like take the L, or like in general just fail in order to understand what like does and doesn't work. And again, I guess, like, you know, going back to our original point, I think that's where so many people like get stuck with starting, is not being able to hear no, or fail, or like just fuck it up in general a few times to figure out what does and doesn't work. And which is interesting, like to me, you know, like for those listening, Elijah, you here graduated from LA Film School, correct?
Yes,
moved
sir.
out on his own.
Yes, sir.
You know, sold like some of your prized possessions, you know, and said, fuck it, like let me go after it. Let me chase what I know I can do, and put myself in an environment where I'll be able to grow exponentially and learn exponentially, which is like, you know, that's awesome. I can tell.
I think that was the biggest thing, though, is just like, holy shit, I love filmmaking. I love filmmaking. And it wasn't necessarily, there's not a lot of filmmakers in Colorado. And I was just like, environment. That was probably the number one reason why I left. Well, I needed to surround myself with like-minded individuals, and like, dude, I can't even explain to you how much it changes you to be around people that are exactly like you. You just find your group, and you're just like, all right.
Yeah, and then you're all having similar thoughts, and you're developing on similar levels of, you know, when you're like, not that I think having contrast and the people you surround yourself with is a bad thing, because like I'm somebody that like I can appreciate anybody for who they are, even if they're like, you know, total 180 from my interests, or like, their passions, like there's still some gold nuggets to pull from everybody, which is, you know, a big reason why I wanted to start this podcast, is to be able to platform to bring on different like mindsets, different ideas, and learn from them, pull from them, and then share that. You know, that's like why I'm here. That's my ultimate goal, not to be like famous or anything like that. I guess they kind of go hand in hand, but that's not my drive. Like my drive is to like find value in the difference in people and like ideologies. But to your point, like when you're surrounded by people that are on the same energy and are focused on the same things, then your like ideas are so in tune with each other. They might be different, but with the same kind of passion behind it, that like it's just like fuel on the fire.
Exactly. And like that makes it get to the deeper stuff, like the nitty gritty. Like, okay, I'm really good at the creative process, but there's this other person who's thought about that same thing their entire life. And it's like I would go to other people. I just knew like, okay, I need the correct aperture, the correct f-stop for this shot. I'm good at that stuff. But then there's like people who literally think that way, and you just like it gets deeper into, I don't know, you just meet professionals. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd say that's
people
professional.
That embody it.
Yeah. That's how they think. You know, people think that way. And I think you'll definitely start dipping into that once you start bringing on more like-minded people, I guess.
Yeah.
You're just going to be like, wow, I never thought about it that way. But we're thinking the same, but like, that's how you've been thinking your whole life? But we think the same?
Looking at the same thing from two different angles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, that's huge.
Kind of a hard concept to fathom, but it's...
I feel like, yes, but I feel like a lot of people can relate to it in whatever their own like field is, you know? Whether that's like, you know, like one thing that comes to my mind is like rock climbers. Like there's a lot of rock climbers that look at the same like face of rock differently as far as the paths they take, right? And how they climb up it, you know?
Great.
Like you know, I'm going for this, and then I'm gonna fucking hook my foot up, and then I'm gonna like swing around over here, and the other guy's like, no, I'm just gonna fucking go that route. Like, but at the same time, their same goal is to get to the top of the fucking cliff or the top of the boulder. Like that's what it is.
Great analogy.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to visualize it at least. But
I just want to say, like, I know we don't. I don't know. I don't care. This is a celebration. This is a celebration for Wyatt. I just wanted to do a little cheers moment with him. And cheers to your podcast.
Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate it. I appreciate it. Great choice, by the way.
Yeah, I was looking at a couple of them.
If you had to say, like, favorite drink based on the occasion. So, like, well, I feel like I know these. I feel like I know what you're going to say, but, like, what's your favorite drink, like, for different occasions?
What would I say?
I think if you're going out, vodka crayons or Red Bulls. 100%, it's got to be one of those two.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I go to, for those of you who live in Colorado, there's a place called Kuwaitis or Kuwaitis, whatever the hell. But when I'm working on my computer, I like definitely vodka Red Bull.
Yeah. Catch a little buzz, but you're also just
like
fucking
torqued
juiced.
out.
Yeah.
Well, I'd say like writing scripts and stuff, whenever I'm like a little bit buzzed, you know, I mean,
your creative juices flow a little bit more when you're on alcohol. I feel like it's also a very slippery slope, though, of going from being like extra creative to like lost in the thought, like almost like too many thoughts end up coming around, and then you get like a little.
Oh yeah, you don't want to drink
yeah.
too much.
Yeah, you gotta find that balance of like
maybe one double shot, take a sip every 10, 15 minutes.
Drink the first, sip the second.
Yeah,
and then wait on the third for like 20 minutes. Not skip it entirely, but
yeah, definitely.
I mean, you could skip it, but yeah, no, that's true. Dude, I'm curious because, again, a big part of who you are is film. I don't think I've ever asked you this, but I am curious. What was like the first, was there a film that you watched that you were like, fuck, that was so interesting? Like, was there something that broke that paradigm for you? You were like, I want to know how they do that, and like more like the layers to film? Or is that something you just always watched movies and thought of them?
Honestly, yeah, like, I will say there is a factor. There's a factor. My grandparents, actually, they every time we went over, we always watched the movie at the end of the night. And like my grandparents are a little bit annoying. They won't shut the hell up about the movie. Like, they'll just talk about like the situations. I'm like, bro, shut the hell up. And then I started kind of like getting a little older and like listening to what they were saying about it, and I was like, wow, actually that was kind of crazy. That, you know, like in the different situations, they're talking about the actors and how they reacted to the situations. But I don't know. I feel like at the same time, I've always had that, like, I don't know if it's necessarily like analytical, but like I just like
curious,
or it's like skeptical. Maybe I just notice like fine details.
I think that's analytical for sure.
Analytical,
that's like an analytical way to look at it.
But it's crazy that I saw this thing the other day. There was like a horse and it was running on Instagram, and it was running forwards, but some people saw that it was going backwards. For me, it was going backwards.
Like the black and blue dress, white and gold one.
Exactly. So it's like left-sided brain or right-sided brain, but it's like analytical or creative. And I saw it running backwards, so I'm like creative, but at the same time, I've always just kind of noticed the finer details and shit. Or I like digging deep into it. I don't know. I can't stop thinking sometimes.
No, and that's why I love watching movies with you. Because to some degree, I wouldn't say it's like a passion of mine to the same degree as yours, but like, yeah, that's always kind of, I've always kind of like to pick apart movies, like, you know, how did they make that shot, or like, you know, the script writing behind something. Like,
I will say, I'm just going to call it out now to you watching right there. Me and Wyatt will be making a movie here soon.
Guaranteed.
And
Guaranteed.
It's going to be absolutely insane.
Many themes are in discussion right now. We'll say that much.
Yep.
Many topics.
All right, we're not going to say any more than that.
Yeah, it's under NDA, so we're both under NDA. It's big red carpet premiere in the future. No, I mean, I think that would be awesome because, like, I mean, talking about making movies, like when I listen to music, that's something that like really like made me realize how much I like visualize. Is like when I listen to music, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that do this, but like I'm constantly like creating little like short films or like music videos to the music I'm listening to. Like it, like there's something about music,
like in your head, or
yeah. There's just something that's like I'm just thinking about shots and like ways to like how could I make a video out of this song? What kind of video could I make to this song? Like that's constantly what I think about when like everything seems to be like shot made, like not necessarily just a thought, but like I'm thinking of shots. Kind of how you were talking about with your dream, actually. Now I'm thinking about it earlier before we like started recording, talking about like everybody kind of dreams, but your dream was in like the shots of a film. That's kind of how I view music.
Like I'm like partly awake when I'm sleeping. Like I'm literally.
That's interesting.
I'm like, I see it as a film because like as a filmmaker, everything that I do is kind of a movie.
Yeah.
So like when I'm sleeping, I'm like, okay, that shot would be there, and like it just mixes so perfectly. But then writing it down, like write down your dreams. I'm so serious, guys. There's some crazy concepts that your head comes up with, and like
I mean, like if you listen to a lot of people, they say that like I mean, not just write down your dreams, but I think that taps into the same concept of like write down your thoughts. Like everybody like talks about that. Write down your thoughts.
Definitely. I didn't mean to take it off topic.
No, you're good. And like I mean, that's where the topic is. Like writing down your thoughts, it allows you to actually retain more than your brain ever could. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm just kind of an overthinker, but I have like so many different thoughts, whether it's like business related and then something like creative or like romance, like whatever it is. Like,
so what would you say whenever you're listening to a song, you're like, you're seeing the visuals? Do you think that has to do with your emotion in that moment that you're listening to the song, or like what happened that day? That's why you're seeing those visuals to that song playing, or is it always the same visual every time you listen to that song?
No, I think you can capture like I think they are independent to a degree. Like I think you could have like I would say that I've listened to the same songs before and kind of like build different videos out of it. Because I mean, if you look online, there's so many different uses of a song when it comes to like people making their own edits and then how they use a song and the vibe they capture using the same song. It can be totally different than somebody else's use of that same song for an edit. You know what I mean? Like. So I wouldn't say every time. I wouldn't say it's directly related to the song, but more so like, yeah, attaching it to like whatever emotion I'm in that moment. You know, sure. That's kind of where that comes from. But
I will say, like, I am the same way. I am the same way. And it's cool to see people from... So film school is also mixed with sound school. So there's people out there whose minds, like same as the rock climbing wall analogy, whose minds need sound to see the visual, but then there's also people who need a visual to make the sound to it. It's kind of crazy. It's like
I definitely don't feel like I work that way. I feel like I work like the sound gives me the visuals. Like when I think about it, I rarely ever see something and I'm looking at it and I'm like, I can see that. Like I get the sound from it from that. Maybe not, because if I'm looking at like the sunset of the mountains, I have a general idea of what sound would fit that. You know, I'm not looking at the sunset
of the mountains.
Well, like for example, like if I'm on top of pulpit and I'm like watching the sunset, I'm not thinking about heavy metal playing in the background. You know what I mean? Like that would be super kind of out of touch with that moment. But you know, I guess to that degree is
but it's funny. That's the coolest part. Is like you can mess with sound like that. Like in saying like you could put a sunset and put
heavy
metal to it, and it just makes that sunset so much more intense, you know. And then you put some fucking Mozart ballerina music or something, and it's like a lot more peaceful. But it's like it's crazy how you could just change the sound to a visual, and it'll change your entire mood about the visual.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's true.
It's funny messing with it, bro. It's funny messing with it.
Yeah, and I like that. I like those layers of like the creative process. Honestly, that's a good point on it. Honestly, of like how to create.
But that's another thing. Being a professional, it's like you have to know exactly what it sounds like to hit the exact mood that your client wants. You know, because if they're like, "Wait, hold up. That's not how I felt that being," you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
how has that been going from the transition of like, I mean, I know you've been involved with creating film and like your own journey and getting better at the process. How has it been going from like doing that purely on your own and like imagining your own ideas to now working with clients and having to help imagine their ideas?
well, it goes back to that thing. It's like, you know,
can I hit that?
Yeah, of course. Like whenever you're in that.
Sorry, man, I had to ask.
It just died.
Oh, coming in clutch.
Tanner. Okay, so
Tanner, you're coming in hot to replace the term Jamie. That's like one of my number one goals with this whole thing. Is people are like, dude, I need a Tanner. I need a Tanner for my podcast. You know what I mean? Right now it's like I need a Jamie. I need a Tanner. Yes.
So honestly, though, it's like totally. Okay. So you see those visuals, right? Whenever you're listening to a song, you see the visuals in your emotion at that moment, or like whatever. That's the thing. When you're working with a client, the biggest thing that you want to pull out from them is, what did they see? What did they feel when they listen to that song? And that's gonna, that's going to make you a better filmmaker. That's going to make you more valuable, is to be able to pull that out. So that's been the difference for me, and that's kind of the realm that I've had to tap into, is just, helping other people's visions come true. Because I can see it and I can make it, but I have to figure out what you see first.
Yeah.
Because obviously I see something different. I can make this shit funny,
Right.
I can make it ridiculous or... any type of vibe, but just being so open-minded to the point where you're like, okay, they're paying me for what they want. They're not paying me for, obviously they're paying me for what I can add to it, but it's like, I don't know. That's what makes money. That's what makes money in the film industry.
It's tapping into other people's emotions and how they're going to view it.
Well, I would say also there are clients that are like free reins. Do whatever you want. I'm like, dope. I know how to tap in. And then in that instance, I would really look at like the demographic of
who's going to be seeing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's interesting. I mean, I think the concept of open-mindedness plays like so largely in life.
Definitely.
Again, like circling back to the concept of not just in film but in life, like that's something that I carry, is being open-minded to like relating it to our, like what we're talking about with film, but overall in life, you're going to meet a lot of different people with different perspectives on the same thing, right? I mean, that's like literally our whole life. Is everybody comes from their own backgrounds, their own like life lessons and experiences with the same kind of shit and what they define something as, like how people define trauma or how they define joy is like so different across everybody. And I think like that's like, it's empowered me to embody being open-minded to like, I wouldn't say questioning, but like fine-tuning my definition of things based off of like being more open-minded to other concepts of it. You know, for like,
what would you say a good example is?
For one, like I guess like one of the biggest ones that's applied in my life is like stress. Like when I really became open-minded to what stress is, I think it also taps into like a value I hold close to me is like empathy and like being like in gratitude. Like I think if you have empathy and you have gratitude in your life, that's like the ultimate success factor to creating happiness. Because if you're empathetic to like others around you and other scenarios that you're like maybe not specifically experiencing, but have witnessed or have heard testimony to, then you can I've been able to stack that against my own situation and go like, okay, yeah, this isn't ideal. Like this kind of sucks, but at the end of the day, like in the grand scheme of things, this isn't that bad. Like there's people that have dealt with much worse, you know, and then that in and of itself helps me like just like take a step back and go like, okay, like I can figure this out, or like this isn't actually that bad. And not get caught up in like, oh, okay, this sucks. Like this sucks. Like I think so many people get caught up in like the suck of a moment that they can't see past it, and then like and then see the bright side of it or see the silver lining of a situation.
I feel like people nowadays like to sit in that.
People love to sit in that shit, and they love to just I mean, everybody wants to play victim these days. Like if you really think about it, like,
yeah,
I wouldn't say everybody, but it's just become like way too popular of a place to be. Is like the victim mindset. And I think if you can flip that script and say like, okay, like what did I gain from this? You gain something from every scenario in life, right? Like, and if you have an open mind to saying there is something to gain from everything, whether it sucks or it's great, then you ultimately win from everything.
And that's definitely an intelligent mindset for sure.
I think it's in my opinion, I think it's the healthiest mindset. Like, why hold yourself down thinking that like just seeing it that like, oh, my situation sucks. Like you don't get anything from that. You don't really learn anything from that. At least that's what I've come to embody in my own life. It's like been super powerful to me. Definitely learning something from everybody that you run into for sure. Right. And being in like having gratitude for what you do have and like the moments that you've experienced. Having gratitude for the shit you've endured. Like having gratitude for the breakups, having gratitude for the losses, having gratitude for, you know, the money lost. Like if you can flip the script on all of it and say like, all right, what can I pull that was positive from that? What can I pull that like made me who I am today? So now I can approach the next situation better with that knowledge. Like, boom, you won. Like you grew.
I think that's been a thing for me lately. Huge. I'll wake up in the morning and I'll just be like, I have no mood yet because nothing has crossed my path. But I think that's definitely a mindset that I should, you know, I've been able to flip lately. I wake up, I'm just a blank slate. And I'm like, okay, either I could have kind of a victim mindset, bad day today, or I can just be happy as hell and just enjoy this day like it was the last day that I've ever been, right, you know, that I have to live. And then I smile, and I usually play some music, dance a little bit.
Get the vibe going.
You know, yeah.
Get the energy built.
You definitely control everything that goes through your head.
100%. I mean, and I speak, like, for anybody listening, like, it's not that I've, like, always thought this way. I think that's something, like, one thing that I do, touching in on, like, what I want this to be. Again, this is, like, the flagship episode, so I don't mean to come back to this point too much, but, like, the idea of what I want this to be is that there's so many people out there online doing podcasts or in places of influence that have already made it and have already like, you know, like you look at David Goggins, Jocko Willink, you look at like Alex Hormozy or Gary Vee, like they did it and then started creating content, which is great because it gives them a point of validation to be able to preach from. But at the same time, I can relate to the fact that, and I think a lot of people can relate to the feeling that it almost seems out of reach in the sense that like, oh, this person's speaking from this mindset because they are a millionaire or like they've accomplished all these things. And there are a lot of people that can see the process that they had to go through to be in that position. And I think that's totally, I don't think that takes away from them in any way. However, like what I want to try and create is like, I'm not fully there yet, but I want to capture the process of embodying all those things and how like, even though I'm not, I'm not fully realized yet, these are the elements that are helping me build to that point right now.
Yeah, and you're working.
Right. Like I'm in the process that's going to get me.
He's actually doing it. He's getting it done.
That's what we're trying to do. Done.
We're starting today. This may not be perfect, but he's further than all the other people who just bought their first microphone or even don't even want to buy it because it's a little expensive. You know, it's like he's moving and it's happening, and it's only going to go up from this video. So
yeah, it's just truly learning, like taking that first step. Like I want to, like this is visualizing and capturing the moment of taking that first step of like, you know, it would be easy for me to wait until I could have the full studio, and then it's like it leaves that chunk of the process missing that people can't actually tune into. Like I want to look back when I have 1 million subscribers and I'm talking to big guests and I'm on that level, and I can look back and say, like, look, you can go back and see the first episode where like I'm in my bedroom where I sold my fucking bed and like said I'm gonna do this and then committed to it and sacrificed.
Hold on.
Like I want to be able to document that.
Wyatt is so he's all in. He's literally all in to the point where he sold his bed. I'm literally sitting right where he used to sleep.
You are, yeah. I used to sleep on this side of the room though, where the bed,
Oh, your left side.
I was like, I guess if you're laying in it, it was right side. Like if I'm laying down, feet that way, right side. But if you're looking at it, left side.
No, but this man sold his bed. I mean, my room's across the way, and you know, sometimes I wake up and I walk out, and Wyatt sleeps on the couch now, and I'm like, bro, that's dedication,
sacrifice.
That's dedication. Honestly,
thank you.
Honestly,
I mean, it just came down to that. Like, again, dialing back into like the core values that I
almost feel bad sitting here right now because I know you're not, I know you're not comfy. I mean, is it comfy? Is it comfy on the couch?
Yeah, it's comfy. Dude, I mean, you know what's comfortable? The idea that it's so much more comfortable to know that I'm actually taking strides towards what I want to be doing with my life. That's such a more comfortable thought than waking up in a bed not making progression towards the life I want. Does that make sense? Like,
uncomfortable in the mind, for sure.
Yeah, like I don't, like, again, going back to that, like being, like having gratitude and being empathetic. Like, why would I be complaining? Like, we have a very comfortable couch. I think we have many friends that can attest to how comfortable our couch is. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a bad couch to sleep on. So it's like, what? I gave up my bed. I still have a comfortable. I'm not sleeping in the dirt. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm sleeping outside. I'm sleeping inside. I got blankets. I'm on a couch. Sure, I don't have a bed, but like, I'm willing to sacrifice a bed for like the ability to create my dream, like my vision. That's so much more comforting than that like deep stomach feeling of like, oh, I know I could be doing more. Like, I know I could be doing more. Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of people stay, is in that feeling of like, oh, I could be doing more. Like, oh, if only I just started.
Well, and honestly, and that's the thing, is people can't be uncomfortable. They cannot even handle that uncomfortability. I mean, obviously they're not thinking on the same wavelength, and like they'd rather be comfortable and not have to sacrifice anything and stay in the same spot because it's comfy. It's comfy. But, I mean, this was a concept me and you talked about a little while ago, but just to reiterate, like, forcing uncomfortability for the things that you want.
Yeah, because
I mean, opens a fat door.
It does, because I don't speak from any platform, like I don't speak from any pedestal. I'm speaking from the standpoint of like, sorry Tanner, I just offered your own vape. I said yeah, like instant, like
yeah, your vape's mine.
But like I speak from the standpoint like I understand everybody who isn't able to do that right now, because for so long I wasn't able to do that. Like for so long it was like I was too comfortable to take the risk and just go for it. And so that's where it's like, yeah, selling my bed committed me to the idea. I was like, okay, like my bed's out of the fucking room, like it's gone. So now what do I do with the empty room? Sleep on the floor and don't do anything, or turn it in, like make it worth it, make that action worth it, make that sacrifice worth it. And so like that was just the momentum, like pushing the boulder.
See, and a lot of people run into that in life. Or I think that's the thing. That's the mindset. It's like people think that they're going to run into that uncomfortability factor.
They try and hide
from it. No. And it's like, no, you have to force it. You're the one who's in control of your life. Either you're going to control your life or it's going to control you.
Right. And I think a lot of people want to try and dodge the shit that comes with obtaining the good things in life. Like, no matter how you look at it, no matter what career you're going after, what path you're taking, there's shit involved. Whether that's, like, you want to go for if you're doing, like, a blue-collar, like, trade job, there's so much opportunity there. There's so much money there. Like, that's not my passion. That's not my goal, what I'm going for. But I respect anybody that's doing that because there's so much opportunity there. However, there's a lot of shit you have to shovel before the opportunity truly opens up to you. You know what I mean? You got to go in at that entry level position and be the new guy on the job, like whatever that looks like. You know how that looks. Uncomfortable. Right, like that's uncomfortable. But the long term payout is that you like are able to climb that ladder, and there's a lot of money to be made there. You can start your own business. You can be the foreman. Like how
if you have that mindset.
Right. And I think, you know, if it comes down to more of like an entrepreneurial, like let me start my own thing, you got to be willing to shovel that shit and go like, okay. If I'm in a job now and I have to sacrifice time from that to make this work, I got to sacrifice a little bit of money. If it's a scenario where I have to sacrifice some of my physical comfort to make it happen, like i.e. me selling
I think the biggest
bed,
factor is definitely time.
Time like, as well.
Okay,
yeah.
I'm willing to be at the bottom of the totem pole for 2 years before this even starts happening.
100%. That's and again, another thing, like I'm empathetic, like I'm understanding of that because, again, it's been a growth process for me to, like, I've been guilty so much in the past of wanting to go from, like, where I am now, or, it was hard for me to visualize the 2 to 3 year process that it's going to take to truly realize my vision. Like, the vision I had was going to take some time. Like, it was going to take time, dedication, and consistency to make it. And so that was kind of like, I'm guilty of kind of getting deterred by that. But I think a big thing that clicked for me was finding something that I was passionate enough about. Like, the concept of doing this, I'm passionate enough about. It's something that I embody in my day-to-day life, regardless. Whether I'm on the podcast or not, I enjoy valuable conversation. Like, I think you know this about me, but like, you know, like I just enjoy good conversation with people, and that's something that I'm passionate about. And then realizing that I can turn that passion into something that creates value. Once I saw that and I realized that, that's like the spark that lit, and I was like, okay, like let's go for it. And now I'm willing to shovel.
Spark, baby.
Yeah, exactly. And now I'm willing to fucking like shovel the shit for that, because that's something that I have like true drive in my character to be like to create.
Definitely.
And if it takes 2 years,
you opened up another factor. I mean, we talked about it, but just to put a point on it, like that's another uncomfortability factor. Like, not necessarily knowing exactly where it's going to go, but knowing that like this feels good. This feels good going for this. I don't know where I'm going to end up, but I think, again, I see everything as film. So, like, every film I've ever made, I have this thought. And then once I plan it out, shoot it, make it happen, it's always better than what I first imagined, honestly.
Yeah. No, yeah. Yeah, because it culminates as you go. Like you got to be I think that's important, like in business, but also like with your like career, like and maybe not even just in like the business, but like whatever your career is, like whatever your trajectory in life is, you have to be willing to pivot along that like journey. You have to be willing to say like, all right, I'm going to set off in this direction, and there's the end goal, but you might take a left turn or a right turn, and like along that way, you got to be willing to like adapt.
Hey, come on in. Come say hello.
Say hello. We're recording the first episode.
This is
speak.
For those of you who don't know, this is Benjamin Alfred Therian. I call him Alfred.
Yeah,
hey,
Alfred has entered
hello.
the room. You can come say hello to the camera. Look at this guy. Look at this guy, fresh out of leg day. Come on.
You're going to remain anonymous. It just showed your body.
Yeah.
Show my face.
Okay. This guy. Alfred, everybody. Alfred. The guy. What were we saying before that?
Oh, I don't know.
I forgot.
This is going pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy it. Yeah, this is like free flowing conversation. Again, like conversations like this where we can, where it flow, like those are the moments, like I guess like flow state, like in life, like well, like you talk about focus and flow state, but also like I think there's a flow state in conversation that I appreciate. And like you'll talk to, like I've talked to so many people in life where it's just like stale, like no energy, blah, blah, blah. There's no flow. There's no connection.
Do you think they're
there.
thinking? Do you think they even?
Yeah, sometimes you're talking to somebody, you're like, is your brain on right now, dog? Like, what are you trying to say to me? What are you trying to present to the world with how you speak, right?
Yeah.
And then when you find those people that are able to have like an actual conversation about things and bring value to the conversation, and whether it's like in disagreements or like connection or, you know, just pure joy of that conversation, like that's awesome to me.
Well, and then that goes back to the factor, that mindset. It's like, I don't know, and you capitalized it for me this year, just living with you. We're roommates, obviously, but yeah, man, honestly, just being able to find value in every single person you talk to. And like, that just shows you started a podcast to find value, to share the value. I mean, there's not a lot of people out there who, you know, wanna share the things that they've learned because they're like, I want to be better than you. You know, it's like, it's not a competition. It's help. We're all alive right now. Like, let's work together. Let's all, you know, make this thing happen and make life more enjoyable.
It's been a culmination of like of appreciating those small moments in life. Like, I'm a military brat, so like growing up having to move and then create new friends in new areas, like I was almost forced into having to, you know, and a lot of people can relate to this. Some people struggle with it, but a lot of people in general relate to the idea of having to connect with new people and having to create new relationships. And my growing up, I had to do that a lot. And so therefore I was able to, like, it forced me to connect and try and make friends with a lot of different people. And then therefore I was able to, like, you know, if you grow up in the same hometown where you go to the same elementary, middle, high school, you know, you're exposed to maybe the same roughly 1,000 people for the first 18 years of your life. Like, I wouldn't even say 1,000 for a lot of people. You know, like, there's a lot of people that only make solid conversation with probably 300 people in the first 18 years of their life. Think about that. There's 8 billion people in the world.
Hey, and there's people. Look that up? Can we Google that and see?
Yeah, actually, yeah. Yeah, actually, this is a great opportunity for this. But, like, you know, like, there's, like, smaller towns. Colorado Springs is a little bigger, and, like, there's so many high schools.
How many people are in the world?
How many people do you actually have valuable conversations with in the first 18 years of your life?
Yeah, how many, like, what is the average amount of connections people make in the first 18 years? Something like that. I don't know. I'd be kind of curious to hear if there is a statistic, like, study shown on that. Anyways.
Shout out to Google.
Yeah, shout out to Google. Antenna. But, like, that was such a valuable lesson to me because it allowed me to meet so many new people and not just go, like, you're not into the same sports as me. You don't do the same shit as me. Like, meh. I was able to, like, it allowed me to look at somebody and be like, okay, you might be totally fucking different than me, but like, that's dope. Like, cool. Like, let me learn something. Like there's something we can connect on. Like, and for me, it was like, okay, are you an open, cool, honest person? Like, are you able to, like, are you just open to like being cool with me? Like, I'm down to be cool with you. Are you down to be cool with me? Like, cool. We don't have to necessarily hang out every day, but like, I can still like be accepting and like loving of anybody I meet, just because there's going to be value they bring, whether it's like just, again, that contrast in opinion or slightly different take on something that I like also see, like, maybe we share the same ideology, but like from two different points of view or like two different upbringings. Like, you just learn, so like it allowed me to exponentially grow as a person. Definitely. By accepting more people in my life.
Again, I mean, I'm just going to go back to it. This is why I'm a filmmaker. I've found a lot of knowledge through film. I mean, if you think about it, throughout the generations, like, filmmaking has been one of the biggest things that's impacted. I mean, it kind of is the biggest thing. And then they made social media. That's film. It's like, you can learn so much from this medium through music, which is emotion, and then the actual visual makes you really feel like it's you. Most films are subjective to the main character, and it's like you get to live extra life, and that's what I like. That's what when I watch a movie, that's what I'm doing. I'm pulling out, I'm trying to answer. When I'm reading a book, I'm trying to answer the question. I'm trying to read this story and answer the biggest question I have in my days right now. Like, if I were that character and I went through that same situation, how would I be reacting? But at the same time, it's like, I found so many answers by just hearing scripts, because it's human. It's humans that do all of this. So we're all human, and obviously we're all human, but
there's some reflection of what it means to be human in every kind of script. I know what you mean. Like, there's somebody behind all those thoughts. There's somebody with some sort of, everybody has their own experience, and that experience bleeds into those films, whether it be the shots that they choose or the story in general.
What would you say a movie that impacts you the most?
That's kind of hard, because like, there's a couple different like routes I'd like to take with that answer. One would be like the first time I ever watched Fight Club. And that's almost stereotypical, I think, to a degree. I'll admit.
Actually, Tanner, do you have the statistic?
Yeah. So.
Say it loud.
I don't have exact statistics about age number, but there is a thing called Dunbar's number, and some scientist, weird guy, he proposed that humans can only comfortably maintain 150 stable relationships at once.
150 stable relationships at once. So, okay, I get where they're coming from. I don't think that's the same concept I was trying to tap into, because I think that's true.
But that's kind of interesting. Like, social media, I'm sorry, you can have hundreds of thousands of good interactions nowadays.
You can have interactions. I think what he's talking about is like relationships you consistently tap into.
Consistently talking to someone.
Right.
It could be on social media, yeah, but you got an update.
Oh, we got an update for you. How about another time?
I have another statistic, though.
How about another time?
That could kind of link to this.
Let's see.
So on average, let's go with 20-year-olds. The most time spent as a 21-year-old is alone, compared to spent with coworkers, with family, with friends.
As a 21-year-old is alone?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, you're always spending more time alone, I guess.
I can actually attest for that. I like my alone time. I'm 21.
I just think about like how many 21-year-olds there are in the world that are in college, that are in that like super social, like connective environment. I guess that's kind of, I mean, that's pretty selective though, as far as like the overall population of the world. I guess that makes sense. A lot of 21-year-olds are probably like just working, trying to like build themselves, going home, like I think once you hit like, 18, 19, you're graduating high school, and then you hit that like paradigm shift of like, okay, shit, now it's like this much deeper jump into the ocean portion of my life, where now I got to really start to like question and figure out the bigger parts of who I want to be, what I want to do, and then you kind of start to separate yourself from all those like little distractions and a lot of the people that are probably a part of those things. And that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, because I mean, I will say that this year has been the most beneficial year I've ever had in my entire life. I'm just like, okay, I'm mature enough to understand basically every single concept. Now,
I don't know if I'd say that.
I'm not saying maybe not every single concept, but I'm saying like I kind of have a grasp on life.
I think as soon as you start to say that, you lose the true power of empathy and empathy and gratitude. Empathy is saying like, okay, I don't understand everything, and let me continue to be open to new things.
Yeah,
I don't think you can look like.
I guess I'm a different mindset because like people are like, when I turn 25, then I'll figure out what I'm going to do. But I've found the love of my life in making. And I just know that whenever I take this ball that I found this year, now I have the rest of my 20s to master it.
Right.
You know, and then that's going to be the rest of my life.
I think that's one key element to it. I wouldn't say that's everything though. Like you got to like I guess my overall thing, not to question like that you found like some solid key values in your life, but more so like I guess like my belief, my view on it is remaining the student.
Yeah.
Like remaining a student of life and all the aspects to it. That's like, you know, remaining a student of creating relationships, how to interact in relationships. Like that is something that is that we're constantly interacting with across our entire lifetime, and that is something that we're constantly having to like grow and adapt and learn from.
And maybe that's exactly what the mindset is as a 21-year-old. You're just so fucking cocky. You're just cocky about everything, you know, because you're like, okay, I have.
Okay, yeah.
I do wake up. I'm like, God, I've been here for a while, actually. But then people are like 45. Yeah, they're like, no.
Nah. Yeah, no, and that's the humbling thing. I think that, you know, one concept that I really like that I have been trying to actively utilize more. I wouldn't say I'm the best at doing it actively right now, but I heard it from Alex Ramosi, and he calls it like the grandfather concept, which is thinking like if you woke up tomorrow as your 85-year-old self. Or, like, imagine if you're...
This is a movie in my head.
Right. If you woke up tomorrow as your 85-year-old self today, like, in today's shoes, but you were 85 years old. So you woke up tomorrow as your 85-year-old self. Did it die? No! I honestly noticed that it wasn't plugged in earlier, and then was, like, gonna say something, and then I didn't.
That was fun.